my name is Marley Bird and this is video 5 for the Nomad Fair Isle Knit Sweater. By this point in this video series, you have completed just about the entire sweater. The only thing left for you to do are the sleeves. The good news is a majority of the instructions for the sleeves are things you already know how to do because you've already done them through the process of making this sweater. There might be a couple of things you aren't so sure about, and that's what I'm here for. In today's video, we are going to learn how to pick up those stitches that we have on a holder and how to pick up sleeves under the underarm, in the armpit area. Once you have that established, you can go ahead, finish off the sleeves following the instructions because they're everything you already know how to do. And then I'm going to give you a little tip on weaving in those ends to clear up any holes you might get. So make sure you have completed your homework up to this point. Grab your pattern, get that homework and your double pointed needles, and we can get started. We are very familiar with the pattern at this point. I am looking at page 3 of the Nomad Fair Isle Knit Sweater, and this is the set of instructions we are going to work on in this video. Right here, it says the sleeves. We have, at this point, I've got a little mock sweater here, okay? So a little mock sweater here. Isn't that cute? Obviously, yours has more Fair Isle work than mine does, but again, this is just a quick sample to work through this together. These stitches over here on this sleeve, these are what we're concerned about because we have to put these stitches here that are on a holder back on needles, and we have to pick up stitches from these stitches down here that we cast on so that we can start working in the round again. In the instructions, you can see right here, it says with the right side facing, and a set of the larger needles. So that's going to be the larger size needles that you have. The double pointed needles are the ones you're going to want to use at this point. It says, and color A, contrast color A. Begin at the center of the 4 stitches cast on at the edge. Pick up and knit 2 stitches. Then it says knit that number of stitches from the length of yarn. So that would be this number here. This would be the number that you have put on a holder. And then it says pick up and knit 2 stitches across the remaining half of the cast on edge. So basically, we are going to pick up 2 stitches, work around all of these, and then pick up 2 stitches. Once the stitches are picked up and knit onto those double pointed needles, you want to make sure all of the stitches are as evenly divided around those 3 needles as possible. Now you will begin to work in the round. Before we jump into the next step, I want to complete that first set of instructions. So the instructions tell us to pick up and knit from the string here, but I'm not a big fan of that. I like to place those stitches that are on my holder back on my needles. So I'm just going to place my stitches on a couple of needles going on here. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Notice I made sure I have all of the stitches in there. I'm just going to turn this around. Let's do this side. I find this easier as I work. Okay. Now I'm not going to remove my holder yet because if I should make a mistake at all, I still have stitches on a holder and I'm not worried about dropping anything. Okay. I just want to make sure I don't knit into that holder. Okay, now this is where I'm ready to start. So I'm going to use a contrasting color here so that way you guys can see what's going on. Grab another needle. And these are my cast on stitches. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4 cast on stitches. I'm going to skip the first 2 and working into the next 2, I'm just going to go right into the stitch. Now you have a decision to make. You can pick up 1 loop, you can pick up 2 loops. You want to pick up whatever makes it look like it's going to be a good secure join for you. Now for me, I kind of like this idea of going through like one edge of the V here. This would be the, let's see, I'm looking at the left side and then that string behind it, see up there? So I'm going to put my needle there and let's take a look at what that looks like. You put your needle in, you yarn over, and then pull that yarn over through. Okay, I'm going to show you guys again. I put my needle in, yarn over, and then pull that yarn over through. I go to the next stitch. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to go through the leg. I'm going to go through that leg. No, this leg. I'm going to go through that and that. Let's see what that looks like. Yarn over, pull that through. I like that. All right, so that would be my 2. And then I jump over here. These are the stitches that are on my holder, okay? So the instructions tell us to knit, pick up and knit the stitches from our length of yarn. So I've just put those stitches on an actual needle so that way I can knit them off. So I'm going to go into each stitch and just knit them off. You'll obviously have more stitches than I do here, but you can get the gist of what's happening. All right, so I've done that, but I'm on 2 needles here. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to just slip some of these over to a 3rd needle, so that way I have them spaced out a little. Yeah, let's do that. I'm going to knit a couple of these onto here. This is just me actively trying to even out my stitches without having to do a lot of extra work. Okay, that's good. Grab my 4th needle, continue to the next needle. Oop, I knit into my, there we go. I knit into my scrap yarn there, and I don't want to do that. All right, so I'm at the end of all of the stitches that I had on a holder, okay? And I'm back to the start here. And I want to pick up and knit, let me pull that tail through here. I want to pick up and knit a stitch through this one and this one. So I am going to do exactly what I did before. I'm going to go to that there and there. And let me yarn over and pull through. I'm going to do the same thing here. I think I like the way that looks. I always play around with where I pick up stitches just to make sure what looks the best. All right, so that would be the beginning of my round because I have all of the stitches here picked up. So at this point, you could grab a marker. Let me see if I can find a marker here that's just a clip on. Here we go. I could clip on my marker and I could actually click it just right here. I'm going to go underneath the stitch, just onto the actual fabric. So I'm just clipping that onto the fabric so I know that's the beginning of my round. Okay, so whenever I get back and I see that, I know I'm at the beginning of my round. And here's where I would just continue on. So I am very comfortable with all of the stitches on here. Like I don't feel like I need this holder anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and remove it. So I'm just cutting it and I'm going to pull it out. Ta-da! All of my stitches are still in place. I can get rid of this scrap yarn and move on to the next round. The next round of instructions, it says we're supposed to knit around and we're going to decrease either 0 for the smallest size, 4 stitches for the next size up, 2 for the next size up, 4 stitches for the largest size. And it says we'll do this evenly around. So we're trying to get down to this number of stitches. Well, you guys know how to do a decrease. That's relatively easy, right? So all we're going to do here is bring our work into action here. The instructions say she wants us to work around 3 needles. If you want to work around 4 needles, you could do that also. That's fine. But I'm just going to carry on with my needle right here and continue on. So it's the start of my round. So let's say that I were to knit a couple and let's say I want to do a decrease right here. So I would just knit 2 together. So that could be my first decrease. And then I could decide, all right, I'm going to knit a couple more and then do another decrease. Whatever works out in favor for you. And let's do a decrease. Okay, pretty easy. You guys know how to do knit 2 togethers, right? It's just a matter of working in the round at this point. When you're working in the round and you get to the ferrule section, I do want to let you guys know, just like when we were working on the cowl portion and such, it's going to be very important you are very diligent about keeping your stitches, your floats in here, not tight, nice and loose, okay? Because you don't want your sleeve stitches to get tighter than your body stitches, okay? So I'm not at the end of my round yet because my marker is all the way over here. So I want to make sure I would get to the end of my round. So 1 and 2, and then I could carry on from there. Now, because the beginning of my round is actually between stitches on the same needle, I could just remove this whole thing here. Let me see here. And I could just grab just a regular old marker and stick it on here because it's not going to fall off since I'm using my needle, you know, just right in the center. My beginning is in the middle of a needle. All right, does that make sense? Does this make sense here? So then you would just carry on following the pattern, which let's take a look at the pattern so we can see what to expect. Once you've completed that round of either no decreases or decreases, depending on the size you're making, you would carry on and you'll work chart number 6 to the end of the chart. So here's chart number 6, and we're very familiar with that. We did that over here in last week's video, okay? So you will follow chart number 6, and it tells you you have 8 stitch repeats and you'll get rid of your color A, and then you finish off the sleeve with your main color. It also says knit 4 decreased stitches evenly around. So you're trying to get down to this number of stitches. Again, that is so that your gauge from the Fair Isle matches your gauge for your stockinette stitch. Following that initial decrease, you will continue on. You will knit 6 rounds and then do a decrease round. You'll knit 2 together to start, and then you'll knit all the way down to the last 2 stitches, and you'll end with an SSK. Then it says repeat these last 7 rounds 5 more times. What you're doing with these 7 rounds is you're going from your larger circumference at the top of your arm, upper arm, and you're decreasing down to the smaller circumference as you get down to your cuff. So by working those decreases, you're getting down to this number of stitches. Then it says work even until work from your cast on stitch edge of the underarm is 13 inches. I will let you know that if you want to add more length to your sleeves, it is at this point you would want to do that. Instead of stopping at 13, you could go to 14. But I will caution you, following the 13 inches, you do have a knit 2, purl 2 ribbing that you're going to do until it measures about 1.5 inches. So if you continue this for 14 inches, your final sleeve length will be 15.5 inches. You see what I mean there? But I know that there are those of you out there who are interested in extending the sleeves. This is the point you would do that. You finish off with a knit round and then you cast off knitwise. Now here's something to really think about, and it's the beauty of the way Gail designed this piece. By us picking up stitches along those cast on stitches right here on the body, we don't have to graft our 2 pieces together. I can't remember in the last video if I mentioned we were going to graft or not. I just can't remember. But by picking up these stitches, we don't have to graft our underarm together. However, you might find that you get a pretty decent hole at the point where you transition from where you've picked up your stitches and the stitches are on the holder, okay? And I want you to know that that hole there, that's on the sample too. I want to bring it over so you guys can see. It's not just you, it's the nature of working in this. Can you see that hole? All right, so those are the stitches that were picked up, and it's a pretty decent size gathering hole there that we could do. Now for me, if this were mine, if this were my piece, I would go in here and I would do what's called duplicate stitch to really pull that hole closed. Or the other thing I could do is I would pick up more stitches than the 4 here and then do an immediate decrease of those stitches to get rid of that. But because the pattern is not written that way, I'm not gonna show that, but it is an option of something you could do for future patterns. You could pick up more stitches and then do an immediate decrease there to get rid of them. But because the pattern is written in this way, why don't we talk about how we could do what's called a duplicate stitch to get rid of these holes. This is a very common thing that happens when you pick up stitches and you transition into working on active stitches. You get holes. Just like if you were working on gloves, you can get holes in between the fingers of the gloves. And it's just the nature of the way the knit stitch is done up. So let's do this. I'm going to show you how I would do a duplicate stitch on the finished sample to close up those holes. Let's see how this works. What I've done here is I've taken a length of yarn, and I know this is a different color than the sample, but I'm doing that so that way you can see how this works. And I've just cut a nice length of yarn here, and I've threaded it onto a tapestry needle. I'm looking at the right side of the fabric, and I love to do this on the right side so I can see how the stitches really come together. And I will actually start with my needle on the right side, knowing that I will eventually tuck my tail in. Now I can see here that it's this stitch right here that is super stretched out. So let's simulate this stitch and this stitch and this stitch. We're gonna close it up with a duplicate stitch. So I'm gonna bring my yarn in from just over here in this corner, and I'm gonna pop it up in between a stitch here. And I'm gonna pull up a length. Now I will let you know, I will go back and weave this in. I'm just leaving it there for right now. And I'm going to follow this stitch that I have here. Let's follow it up to here and grab through that. And we're gonna come, this should follow here. You can see the yarn is split there. And that should follow back down here. Let's see, that comes back down here and it goes to here. So let's play with this a little bit. I'm gonna pull that through. Let's see. So if I hold that and pull that, all right, so that closed that up pretty good. Can you see that? But I don't like where this ended up, so I don't want that to go there. So I'm actually gonna pop that over here. Yeah, that's what I like. I like that over there. So now this one here, I can see if I pop this up here, I have two choices. I could follow this line and come this way, or I could follow this line and come this way. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna come up here, and I'm just going to simulate a stitch here. So I'm gonna come here, and I'm gonna pop back down here. Ooh, I like that. See how good that looks already? All right, so I'm gonna pop this over here and there. Can you see how that string goes there to there? Look at that, that's already closed up pretty good. So if I come up here, I'm gonna close this one more. Pull that snug, and that goes back down here. I'm gonna pop that down there and then back over here because I'm gonna come back over here. Ooh, that already looks so much better, right? But we still have this big hole here. So I'm gonna come up between the one I just did. Remember, if these are all the same color, it's gonna look much better. Let's go through that one. And then this comes down and it pops over here. So it comes over here and it comes up there. So let's do that. And you know what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull it more snug. Now watch what happens. I pull it more snug, it really doesn't get rid of the hole, okay? So this is what I would do. This is where I would essentially redirect the stitch, the duplicate stitch. So instead of coming back over here where we're getting the hole, I would come back here and just sort of let's make a stitch here. Let's as if it was going through here. See what this looks like. Obviously you can see it's easy to take out if you need to. Oh, look at that. So much better. Now I can come back up here. Let's see here, how do I want to do this? I gotta follow a path. Let's come under here. Oh, that looks better already. Now we could, can we come back up? No, I don't want to do that. Let's see, let's try this. I'm gonna go this way. And now I'm gonna come back up. Let's see. Oh my gosh, look at that. That is so much better. Look, there's no hole now. Look at that, so much better. Obviously, you would want to do this all in the same color, but this is what happens. So that's what it looks like without the hole after doing some finishing work, some duplicate stitch work. Here's what it looks like with the hole after not doing any finishing work. What I could do here is, if this was all done, if this is all I wanted to do, I could come back, I would pull my tail of what I'm working on through. I would do the same thing with this one. Okay, so this one here I'd pull through too. I'd come to the inside and I would just weave in my tails in here, and I would just cut my yarn. Okay, I'm just gonna cut my yarn here because I'm gonna take it out. Before I do that, I'm gonna get a quick glimpse again. You can see here, let me pull that in just so we can get a very good look of what's happening. Doesn't that look so much better? And you know what? It's not that you did anything wrong, or it's not that the knitter did anything wrong by getting these holes. It's the nature of working on pieces like this. But this is one of those little finishing things you could do to really clean up your area that is stretched out. So that's what it looks like when it's not stitched up. That's what it looks like when it's not all stitched up. It is a huge difference. And it's so easy to do this little bit of darning. Take your time with it, play around. You can see where you could follow the stitch path, and if you find that following the stitch path isn't working, you need to create a new stitch path to make it all come together, you absolutely can do that. Once your entire sweater is done, that's when you would do this kind of darning, and then you would weave in all of the ends of your sweater, and you are complete. I don't know about you, but I have been loving watching you complete all of these beautiful sweaters in the knit along group. It has been so inspiring. There are those of you who are absolute beginners who are tackling this for the first time. There are those of you who are experienced knitters who have never thought you could do a Fair Isle sweater, and you're doing it. It is super impressive. Please, if you are making this sweater, share with me on social media. Use hashtag #MarleyBird or hashtag Yarnspirations. I would love to see your work and be sure to give you a thumbs up. I'm so proud of all of you. I hope you have enjoyed this video series as I walked you through everything you need to know to complete this beautiful sweater. As you tackle future sweaters, make sure you come back here for all the help you might need to become a better knitter. I'm Marley Bird, and this is the Marley Bird YouTube channel. I'll talk to you again very soon. Bye. Thanks so much for joining me on the Marley Bird YouTube channel. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to hit subscribe. I've put a link right over there, or you can watch a couple of the videos I've already selected for you right down there. If you want to follow me on social media, I've put my links right over there. You could have all Marley all the time. Bye guys.